On the day, the International Energy Agency and the OECD predicted 25% of the world's power could come from nuclear energy by 2050, DEC Minister Charles Hendry spoke to a gathering of the British nuclear industry. Mr. Hendry was giving a speech at the Market Force Nuclear Industry Forum, held at London's famous Liberal Club. There he told delegates the government was backing nuclear as a route to our lower carbon future. But why?
We've made it very clear in the coalition agreement that nuclear will be part of the future as long as it can be built without subsidy. But that still leaves many questions in people's minds, and I was very keen to have the chance to address some of those this morning.
You have had, obviously, a warm reaction here, but yesterday some people were saying there's confusion at the heart of government. You've got the Secretary of State who'll be making the ultimate decisions about these things, who's completely against nuclear. How do you resolve that?
Well, the Secretary of State has made it very clear that he is not personally against it. He is guided by the economics, he's guided by the facts. If investors come forward and say they will be prepared to invest in Britain without subsidy, then he's very keen to see that investment happen. So this is not a philosophical objection. It's been a question about the economics and whether it stacks up. So that this is something, an area where he and I absolutely are at one. We completely share the view that if nuclear can be made to pay in the United Kingdom without subsidy, it will be part of the mix going forward.
The IEA say by 2050 a quarter of the world's energy needs will have to be made by nuclear. Are we anywhere near getting on that road? Because there is still resistance in this country to nuclear, isn't there?
Of course there is. There is resistance in every single country towards it. But what we recognise is that the public opinion has been moving. It's been moving towards nuclear and it's becoming more supportive each year from all the evidence that we see. But what I think that IEA report shows above all is that if we're to secure new investment in Britain, we have to redouble our efforts to remove barriers. We are absolutely clear there will be no subsidy. The companies involved are telling us they're not looking for subsidy or public support in that way, but they want a clear regulatory regime, they want clarity on the planning system, they want to know what the costs will be for the long-term waste disposal matters, and so that we're very keen to address those at an early stage, so their boards, when they look at those decisions, can see the United Kingdom as being an attractive place to invest.
When are they going to get a national policy statement, and what will it say?
Well, the national policy statements are that we've said that they will need to go through Parliament. That is something which we've always been committed to. We think that is actually going to make them more robust. It will show that there is parliamentary support for the energy positions which the government has taken. That we saw a draft NPS which went through the Select Committee process before the last election, a great deal of public consultation at that time. My department is now looking at those responses to see how we need to adapt them to make them most robust and most resistant to a legal challenge, because we're very keen that we should get the balance right on these issues.
But the question about waste disposal hasn't been answered, and it's in the government's hands.
Yes, we want to see this move forward, but it has to move at the right pace again. That what we need to do is we have to have communities which are prepared to be host communities for this. That's a long series of discussions. They've got to understand what the benefits for their communities will be and the broadest range of how those benefits will come through. We've got to do very significant geological assessment to make sure that what would superficially appear to be suitable terrain will ultimately be suitable terrain, and so that there's a great deal of work which needs to be done in this. But in the meantime, we're absolutely clear that on-site safety is completely safe, and so that we're very satisfied with the interim handling arrangement, but we will, of course, be seeking to provide greater clarity in these areas. What we have to do at an early stage is to agree the costs of that process, because no board looking to invest in Britain can possibly make an assessment if there's a completely open-ended commitment on that. So we're working with the industry to identify what is an appropriate cost for them for the additional amounts of spent fuel and nuclear waste which would be involved.
Are you a friend of the nuclear industry? Would you say that?
I am a critical friend of the nuclear industry. I think they've got an important role to play. I will challenge them hard. We're certainly not going to be a soft touch on any of these issues.
But you said you'd be open. You said in your speech, I'll be open, I want to talk to these people.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the relationship which they want to have with ministers and with government. That's something which my predecessors in this role have done as well over recent years, and that they've been willing to say, where are the obstacles to investment, how do we move those out of the way, and how do we create a new model for nuclear build in Britain, which has not been seen anywhere else in the world, of building it without subsidy because it was the right investment environment. I think that's a very exciting position to be in.
And finally, the stability of this coalition coalition, it's needed if we're going to have long-term investment in nuclear, isn't it?
I think absolutely. I think they've now got a government for the first time which has more than 50% of the popular vote, and when they're saying that nuclear will be part of the mix if it can be built without subsidy, that is a completely clear position. We know that for the main opposition party, the Labour Party, most of their members of Parliament are also supportive of nuclear development in Britain. There is a very strong majority in Parliament for this. The coalition is extremely robust, very determined to do this. We have a very clear position and we are absolutely at one.
Charles Hendry, thank you very much for your time.